Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcus White.
And my name is Fight Mode Nick Cavalli.
And of course, we welcome you to the Wrevolution.
So this is the weekend wrap-up on Tuesday?
This is the weekend wrap-up on a Tuesday, probably coming out on a Wednesday. It's a great time.
It's Tuesday. It's a video.
Yes.
We did a video for you.
And I don't know if you guys noticed some little unique about my friend Nick here. Look at that guy. Beautiful. Nick, you want to tell them all about it?
I mean, these designs. So we've come out with some very beautifully, definitely unique, totally not four designs that are the exact same shirt in different colors. Designs for you guys. Of course, currently not available for sale, but in the near future, we will be offering them up as soon as we get a shop going online. And
so, as always on the weekend wrap-up, we are going to kick things off with Friday Night Smackdown. And, well, King Corbin tried to kill a man.
Okay, let's move on to Monday Night Raw now.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that matters from SmackDown. So, moving on now to Monday Night Raw, which was better than SmackDown. That's the bar we're setting at this point.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So, no, Raw kicked things off with a really good promo from Mark Calloway. I don't know if he's the Undertaker anymore because he came out didn't even do the deep dark voice. He was just standard Mark Calloway. His regular voice came out, no dark clothes, just regular almost like Biker Taker, except way more toned down. So he came out. He called out AJ for what we've all been talking about forever, which is the fact that Michelle McCool uses the Faith Breaker, which is the Styles Class, said that she uses it better than him and that she got it over. So, a little bit of shots fired there. Said that you messed up when you brought her into it and that he's going to bury AJ. He's going to make him rest in peace, standard Undertaker stuff. But it was nice to see him kind of come out. I don't want to say break kayfabe because obviously this is all scripted still, but no longer just the spooky ghost stuff, but just hey, you crossed the line. Now I'm gonna kick your ass, just man to man.
Well, and that's the thing. Taker is an old guard guy. Obviously, he's never gonna break kayfabe. He's kind of like Chris Jericho. Jericho talks about that all the time, how important it is to keep kayfabe no matter where you go, no matter what you do. That you have to act your persona, and when you are live on TV, you're not going to break kayfabe. So I'm thinking this is definitely the direction WWE wanted to take it. You mentioned every decade Undertaker gets a new gimmick, so the 2020s are upon us. It's time for Undertaker to go ahead and reinvent himself again. The
American Dead Man?
Yeah, you said the American Dead Man. I said he's going back to his indie days of the early 1980s, Mean Mark Callis, coming out as Mean Mark Calloway, old man who's gonna kick your ass.
Yep. He's still got the black hair though. No, he's not letting any of the reds show it at all.
Well, the red or the gray.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. It's kind of like this weird. It's not like when he came back. Remember a couple years ago when he switched to the Biker Taker pants, but he was still the Phenom. So he's no longer that weird hybrid. He's just gone full on I am Taker, Biker Taker. It's all we need is him coming out on a motorcycle to Limp Bizkit at WrestleMania, and then we've got the American Badass back.
No, you don't want him coming out to Kid Rock?
Yeah, not with how things have been going now lately.
American Badass!
I think my favorite line from this Taker promo is when he was like, "Oh, you're trying to make your mark at the show of shows, WrestleMania. You take on the Undertaker. I'll make you famous, kid." So I like that line. That was cool. But
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. Next we had Becky Lynch cutting a promo. This was alright. Wasn't the best promo. She basically said that, yeah, she's okay admitting that she doesn't know her own identity without being champion, but she knows that she's starting to get to Shayna Baszler after she attacked her last week. Said that I can see it now. The relief and the exhilaration you'll get when you beat me, if you beat me. As if, for once, you're still Ronda's spotlight instead of the other way around. So, I like that. I like incorporating more and more of real life into that. It's. I mean, let's be honest. We don't want to see this feud about biting necks and stuff like that. No, we want to. It's all about the fact that
I don't hate the idea that Shane is a vampire.
It's just we want to see Shayna and Becky kick the crap out of each other, and we all know the underlying reason is that Shayna just wants to get out of Ronda's spotlight. That's what everyone's been saying.
The fun part to it is they might not have mentioned Ronda in this feud at all had Ronda not been leaked at WWE headquarters. Because now it's almost like, oh, foreshadowing. Mm-hmm. Get it? Shayna Ronda. It's a possibility, which I would love to see.
Oh, oh my God. That's so good.
You're welcome for that image.
Yeah. And then, of course, after Shayna Baszler attacked Becky Lynch. So, cool. We had Kevin Owens and the Street Profits versus Seth Rollins, Angel Garza, and welcoming back to Monday Night Raw, or I guess making his Raw debut, Austin Theory. So, yep.
Why is he in this feud?
Why? Well, the better question is, why has Angel Garza and the Street Profits been looped into this, at all? I mean, let's be honest. This is about Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens.
Well, the funny thing is, we know that the Street Profits were set to take on Andrade and Angel Garza.
Which also, why?
It's rumored that because of Andrade's injury, they wanted to throw them into a tag match because he could do less work. He wouldn't have to defend the title at Mania. And I guess it got so bad to the point where they just pulled him from the match. So then why not put up a different challenger? Because this makes no sense. Why?
Or at this point, I'm sorry, WWE, but you need to take the title off Andrade. You had to take him off TV for a month for violating your wellness policy. Now he can't fight at Mania because of an injury. I'm sorry, take the title off him.
You need to strip him of the title and put it in a triple threat match. Well, it'd be a singles match because Rey is self-quarantining because Rey Mysterio reportedly actually contracted COVID-19, so best of luck to you, Rey.
I mean, but God knows if there was somebody like Finn Balor or Daniel Bryan that did this multiple times, you'd have took the belt off them. So, I mean, why does Andrade still have it? I don't understand. I mean, at this point, it writes itself. Okay, Andrade gets hurt, Andrade gets suspended. You strip him of the title, match for the vacant championship. Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. It writes itself. You don't even need to do any extravagant booking or anything. The two guys hate each other. You've already done a good job building it up already from previous weeks.
And you know what? If you are so dead set on Austin Theory getting a push here, put him in the match.
Make it a triple threat. Give him the title.
You don't even have to give him the title.
Just put him in the match.
Show the world what he can do in a match with a guy like Angel Garza, a guy like Humberto Carrillo. No, instead we're gonna get Angel Garza and Austin Theory versus the Street Profits in what is a guaranteed loss for.
Fingers crossed that it's a guaranteed loss. This is WrestleMania and it's WWE. They will do it. Don't you say it because they'll do it.
And Angel Garza, I'm gonna lose my shit.
You know they do it too. That's the thing. You know they would. They put the title on Goldberg. Yeah.
At least Goldberg as a singles champion makes sense. Austin Theory isn't even on the main roster.
Yes, so in the end, Kevin Owens and the Street Profits do pick up the victory here. After the loss, Kevin Owens cut a promo on Mr. Rollins. Said that no one in NXT liked Seth Rollins. He addressed Rollins' claim that the Performance Center was built off the work that he did. Said that it wasn't because of him, because Seth Rollins apparently was a nightmare to deal with when he was at FCW. And that, yeah, it's true, Rollins has main evented more WrestleManias than Kevin Owens probably ever will or ever has. But he did none of them without backup or by using underhanded means to get what he wants. And that this Saturday night, I will show you that you're not a prophet, you're not a messiah, and you're not a god when I take my first WrestleMania moment from you. So, solid promo work there from Mr. Owens. I like it.
Too bad he's still going to lose.
I hope not.
Me too. But, you know.
It's been, like, what, how many months of Rollins winning over and over again? So, at some point, Owens needs to get a victory.
I think it depends on who books this match at WrestleMania. I think Paul Heyman goes, slow build, let's keep building Rollins, let's keep pushing him, let's make this whole Messiah and Disciples thing like a huge wrestling storyline. Vince probably be like, nah, make him lose to the babyface. It'll make people feel good.
Yeah, but I'm okay if Rollins loses at Mania. I'm not gonna, because it's been months of Rollins just always just being that much ahead of Kevin Owens. I mean, dear God, like how many times do we have to see the same variation of Kevin Owens versus Rollins on Raw week in and week out? It's just a different tag team match every week.
Do you recall the first AEW title reign?
That's fair. That's fair. And then next, we get the Rated R Superstar Edge cutting a promo on his best friend, his buddy, his good old pal.
Friends.
Yes, his old pal, Mr. Randall Keith. Randall Keith. Yes, and this was a really good promo. This is one of those promos where, honestly, I'm sad that Raw isn't live and that Mania isn't live, because this feud deserves a crowd. It really does. This match deserves to be in front of thousands of people. It really does. I feel so bad for Edge, who worked so hard to get back to WWE, to have what could probably be one of his last WrestleMania moments, and now it's just going to be pre-recorded in the Performance Center. If even it's at the Performance Center, I mean, I don't know if you heard the news about that, but they may not even be doing it at the PC. So,
well, I mean, unless it is already fully pre-recorded.
Well, I heard they were doing the tapings this week. So, yeah.
Baker.
Yeah, so that's the scary part. I'll just come out and say it. Yeah, a fun fact, reportedly, where the Performance Center is located, I believe it's Orlando.
Yes.
The city of Orlando has came out and said they don't want any gatherings of more than 10 people. So WWE is having trouble getting WrestleMania done, like getting the clearance to continue to hold their show. So they may not even have Mania at the PC, which just, God, throws a wrench into all of that.
They'll just have Mania at that random building that Triple H is renting out.
I mean, at this point, I mean, do you go to Full Sail? I mean, you've been doing NXT from there, so I mean, what do you do? Like, do you move everything that you moved from Tampa, move it to the PC, and then you move it all to Full Sail? Like, just, my God, I can only imagine.
You find the state with the most lenient restrictions and just rent out a warehouse.
I mean, I don't know. I saw another story that kind of conflicts this too, which is the fact that apparently the rule had already been instated about having gatherings of 10 or more people, but WWE has been filming SmackDown and and Raw, and it's been gatherings of more than 10 people.
Right.
So reportedly, it's just like a recommendation. It's not like in Michigan where it's like, no, you don't leave your house unless you're going to certain places. So hopefully that's all it is, and it's not just like a full-on crackdown. Actually, no, I kind of hope it is a full-on crackdown, because I'd be okay if they were just like, let's just not do Mania, and
they're moving it to MSG.
Yes, or like just wait. Just literally be like, okay, sorry about Mania. We're gonna postpone it and wait like they should have done from the beginning. So
yeah,
I real quick, and then I want to loop it back in because we are getting a little off topic here.
Just a tad. They could move it to Connecticut, to the HQ if there is a ring in a HQ. Or I mean, let's just.
I mean, God knows what's at HQ.
For all we know, the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail are sitting at HQ. I mean, no one would ever know. They're probably in Vince's office, and Vince keeps it in the lock safe.
The tomb where Jesus was buried.
Yeah.
All at Connecticut. Yeah.
Everything's in Connecticut. It's the Garden of Eden.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. All right, so Edge responds to Mr. Randall Keith, says, Yeah, I'm a junkie for this. I'm a junkie for this business, but anyone who's in this company that gives a damn, that wants to make something of themselves, truly is a junkie for this business. Like, that's just what you have to be. And if you're not, then that means you're just a body taking up space that needs to get the hell out of my way. And then he says that Randy doesn't know what grit means because he claims that he has it, but no. Your grit and my grit mean two completely different things. Your grit means that you were handpicked and chosen by Evolution. My grit means that I refusing to join Evolution because I didn't want to be somebody else's lackey. So, Edge spitting fire. Talking about how my grit means it's the hard work that it took for me to climb and build myself back up to come back to wrestling after being gone for 9 long years. And this was classic. This was, as Michael Cole says, vintage Edge, because this promo was fire. You could really hear the emotion. It was so good. Again, this deserved a crowd. I would have loved to have heard the reaction. Oh, my goodness, it was so good. But still, Edge makes it work. The great ones can do it anywhere, and he made it work.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I entirely agree with you. I mean, Edge has always been fantastic on the mic, and he brings such emotion to just about every storyline that he's in, no matter how goofy it is. I mean, the Vicky Guerrero storyline.
Yeah, who else could have made that work?
Bray Wyatt. Which I would now pay to have wiped from my mind. So I think that this is perfect. I mean, he's one of those guys who can convey emotion without having to lean into the fans at all, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't have to come out and get cheap pops from the crowd. Like, he's not going to walk out and be like, hey, what's up, Orlando? Just my favorite line was actually in this promo was the last line where he says, Randy, you found yourself in another hole, but this time I'm not going to be there to pull you out of it. I'm going to push you so far in, you'll never get out. That was a great line. I like that a lot. Next, we got Asuka versus Caden Carter. So, next we get Paul Heyman cutting an in-ring promo with Bork Laser.
Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta get wider.
Yep. So, Heyman addresses the duo status in the Go Home segment of the Go Home show before WrestleMania, saying that this is where the champions go. He talks about how Drew McIntyre is a special athlete who has stepped up to the challenge in front of him. And then he names that the other special athletes that Lesnar has conquered, such as The Rock, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, and a host of others. Says next year on the Go Home segment, on the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania, do you know who's going to be standing here with the title over his shoulder? Brock Lesnar. So, standard Paul Heyman pro. Like, you get the gist. You've heard, I love Paul Heyman, but you've heard one Paul Heyman Brock Lesnar promo. You've pretty much heard them all. I think we're all tired of the talk, and we just want to see these two beat the hell out of each other at Mania. So that's what the people want to see. I mean, these are just two big boys, two big sweaty men, classic WWE style, and we just want to watch them fight. Drew McIntyre is an amazing talker on the mic. So is Paul Heyman, but there's only so much you can say in regards to a match like this.
This reminds me of, well, I wasn't alive for it, nor is this nearly the same magnitude, but the build for Andre versus Hulk.
Yes.
You didn't need a build. You really didn't. It's two gigantic guys that everybody just wanted to see fight, and everybody clearly wants one guy to go over the other. Oh my god, I want it to be the first time that Andre gets body slammed. I want Hulk to win. Everyone said that.
Yep.
Everyone wants Drew to... If you want Brock Lesnar to win, tell me why. So, it reminds me of that, but it doesn't need a build. I mean, that didn't need a build. I mean, good thing it didn't, because Andre couldn't talk. But, I mean, that didn't need a build.
I mean, let's be fair, Brock can't talk either.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why Andre wound up with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah. So... that was the Go Home show for Monday Night Raw. And it was a show. It was better than Raw has been in previous weeks. I'll say that. Which, when you've reached so far, like you are just at the bottom, I'm talking like garbage tier these last couple weeks, it's hard to not be better than trash. So, but... I mean, if other than you consistently still re-airing parts of shows, like you did do that this week, but the unique segments that you had, like the promos, I thought were fine. I thought they were good, actually, in fact. So, I'll grading you on your unique segments alone. The matches were terrible. They weren't good at all, but the segments were fine. So, still, at the end of the day, decent-ish to bad Raw. You're never...
I'll give you 1/4 portion.
Yeah, pretty much. Nothing can ever be as bad as SmackDown, where I just don't even care. Like, SmackDown, I'm so far tuned out from that even, like, John Cena showing up, I was just kind of like, cool. Which... I love John, but not even Cena can save that show at this point. Let's go ahead and get into some new stuff. So, Mr. Cavalli, go ahead and hit us with some news.
I am going to lead with a relatively large-ish story, and I'm going to go ahead and let you follow off of it because you brought up an article that relates to it. But apparently, Eric Bischoff has come out and he has said he's not quite a fan of Tony Khan. That Tony Khan has been in the wrestling business just a couple of months, and all he's done is copy exactly what WCW Nitro did at the beginning of the Monday Night Wars. Tony, of course, came out, defended himself, said, of course, we're doing everything that we possibly can to make ourselves original. We want to distance ourselves from what WCW did because obviously that did not work. Then stated that while WCW had its heyday in the 80s, late 80s into the early 90s, that once Bischoff took full control, you saw how quickly things turned.
Yeah, Mr. Bischoff didn't take too kindly to that, though. As he has responded multiple times, including saying that Tony Khan has barely even been in the wrestling business and called him a mother effer. So, very classy, Eric. I mean, I guess that's the Detroit in him. So we don't do class when we feel we've been insulted. But he then said that
what is it they call it? Blue collar mouth.
Yep, that's that Detroit versus everybody mentality, I guess. But Bischoff went on to say that a lot of Dynamite's early success has come from going through the same steps as WCW Nitro when it started beating Raw in the ratings. Said that, and I quote, "Nitro changed the industry, and we are seeing the benefits to this very day. They've stuck." Said that WWE followed suit. Tony Khan can say whatever he wants about WCW, but my God, if they are not trying to follow the formula that made Nitro successful, I don't know what else they are doing. And then going back to the aforementioned interview, Tony Khan pointed out that if WCW had operated logically, then Monday Night Wars would have gone on long past 2001. The audience was there, he says, for those wars to go on for decades if they had produced competitive shows and run them logically, but that didn't happen. So, he also, real quick, goes on to say, "Our goal every week with AEW Dynamite and TNT is to produce great shows for our fans, and I believe we do. We felt especially motivated to serve our audience this past Wednesday night given what the entire world is coping with. Hopefully we gave them a well-deserved escape during these times."
Two things I get out of this. First of all, it breaks my heart because this means I'm not going to get Eric Bischoff as a GM on Dynamite, which I was dying to see. Second of all, of course, no creative control, because we saw what happened with WWE, which you will get to.
Yes.
Second of all, why call out Tony Khan? Yes, Tony Khan has not been in the wrestling industry very long, but he's surrounded by Cody, Kenny, Matt, and Nick Jackson, and he's surrounded himself with great minds like Arn Anderson, Billy Gunn, Jake the Snake.
Well, you have to understand, though, coming from, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, coming from Eric Bischoff's point of, Tony Khan technically started this first. I mean, he came out and he spoke out about WCW, which anyone who has any common sense knows the last years of WCW were ran terribly. But regardless, that's still Eric Bischoff's baby. Like, that's still his show. So when you come out and you say something like that, you speak as candidly as Tony Khan did, especially going further to say that had it been run with any semblance of good, I can't even put the words together, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if he was like, yeah, if WCW had been run smoothly at all in its later years, the wars would still have been going past 2001. That's basically a shot at Eric Bischoff, so obviously he felt the need to respond.
Well, the funny thing is, this is what gets me. Tony Khan, more or less, is where Ted Turner was. He owns the company. While he is still involved in creative, like Ted Turner was, the guy who's in Bischoff's spot, the EVP, is Cody Rhodes.
Yes, but Cody isn't the guy that came out to speak out about Eric Bischoff. It's Tony Khan. You don't come out and you don't throw random shots at the people that have said nothing about you, and Eric knows that. He's going to come out the guy that he feels disrespected him. Eric Bischoff has said he has tremendous respect for Cody and his family, so he's not, why burn a bridge if you don't have to?
True.
So, and, well, again, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I don't like the way Eric Bischoff responded. He could have come out and just been like, I understand that WCW could have been ran, but everyone and their mother knows WCW could have been ran better in its latter years, and I put a lot of that responsibility on myself. But at the same time, I do find Mr. Khan's comments to be quite rude and perhaps disrespectful, and I would appreciate an apology. Something like that.
And then he was like, "Oh wait, I'm from Detroit, you mother."
Yes. We definitely didn't get that from Bischoff, which I guess I wouldn't expect anything else.
No. Obviously, the fall of WCW is Eric Bischoff's fault. It had nothing to do with Vince Russo, my favorite booker of all time.
Yeah, nothing with Russo, Hogan, none of those guys. Nope. It was all Eric Bischoff. And speaking of Eric Bischoff, speaking of Eazy-E, we have an article by Ryan Said from Pro Wrestling Sheet talking about Eric Bischoff in which he goes into detail about his last WWE run and what led to him ultimately leaving the company. So he talked about why he got back into the business, which I'm not going to really go into that much. But the important thing was the reason why he ended up leaving the company. He said that when he got there with SmackDown moving to Fox and the uncertainty of the brand split, he felt that he just felt like he was drowning. There was just so many things that he had to take care of. He looks at someone like Paul Heyman, who he called a rock, said that guy just got right into it. He's able to do so many things at so many different times. He's just a workhorse. And he said, I just felt like I couldn't handle it. It was just too many things going on. I felt completely out of my element, to be honest. And I felt like I had already been out of wrestling for so long that it was hard for me to come back in, not knowing anything about the business in terms of where the storylines were, who the newer wrestlers were. I hadn't been following wrestling since I left the business back when I left TNA. And he said, I knew about 8 weeks in, it just wasn't going to work out. I knew I wasn't fitting, and it wasn't a secret. It wasn't right. Vince wanted it to work. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. There was no reason for him to set me up this way. The opportunity he gave me was amazing. But I couldn't adapt. I couldn't flip the switch. And I knew it. Vince knew it. We both knew it. And that's why when it was time for them to let me go, I was more relieved than disappointed. I was disappointed because I didn't live up to Vince's expectations. And then when it came down to actually being let go, he said that he was told after coming into the office on Tuesday morning by someone other than Vince McMahon. He said, I was not able to say what he was told by the person in regards to why he was let go, but it makes clear that it was more of a chemistry issue on his part rather than anything WWE may have done. He says, I had to fit in the system, and I wasn't able to do it in the timeline that it needed to be done. Simple as that. So no bad blood, nothing personal, or no heated rivalries or clashing between Vince and Eric Bischoff. It was just, the dude was out of his element. He's been out of the business since 2011? So yeah. The dude doesn't know anything about modern storylines.
So when does Vince Russo get his run?
Yikes. Hopefully never.
Hopefully next year. Can't wait for SmackDown to be the most off-the-chain thing in the history of the world.
So this is part of the reason...
The Mandy Rose on a forklift match. So
I use Eric Bischoff's story as a situation where it's this is what happens when sometimes you get, people wanted Eric Bischoff back in the company, but sometimes getting what you want isn't always what's best for the business, Eric, again, hadn't been in wrestling forever. He hadn't been following wrestling, but people were clamoring for him. I mean, obviously he's a brilliant mind in the industry, but dude just he can't follow the way things work in modern pro wrestling, and it just wasn't gonna fit for him. And that's sad. I still think Eric has something that he could offer up to modern pro wrestling. I still think a mind that brilliant, that creative, that he could definitely bring a lot to any pro wrestling show. He would just have to do it, I feel in a minor role. You can't automatically shove him to the top of creative on a show. Maybe just give him a minor consultant role, something small, I would love to see him come in as a consultant role for either AEW or WWE. I think they could definitely use his ideas, especially SmackDown.
What I'm thinking is, and it would be perfect because this is the way that more or less that Paul Heyman got back into the position he's in, is in a consulting role. I mean, he was with Brock, and that was his only role, and then they pushed him into a consultant role, and now he's basically running Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the best way for Eric to, if he wanted to. I mean, as of now, he has expressed no interest in doing anything in pro wrestling, but if he wanted to come back and do something creatively, I think that's what you do. You have him, sit out, watch the program, get back into the show, have him come and just observe. If you want to throw him in a smaller role. Like if you want to do like a Paul Heyman type thing where he's a manager for somebody, you can do that. Or just have him come backstage. Just watch the shows. Just consult, get back into the business. And then once he's been there for, I would say give it at least a month or two, of him just observing the business. And once he feels like he's fully ingratiated back into the company, then you go, okay, I think he knows enough. You ask him obviously first, and you go, all right, let's ramp it up. Let's give us what you got. I think that'd be a great way to use Eric Bischoff today, I feel like. But obviously that would be dependent on if he actually wants to do anything in the business or not, which, again, as of now, he wants nothing to do with pro wrestling. And that's fine. I mean, he's been in the business forever, so sometimes you just want out.
So, additional news this week actually just broke, I believe, yesterday. We are getting another singles title in AEW.
Yes.
The TNT Championship, the equivalent of like a TV championship that we've seen in the past. This time actually getting the sponsorship for the network, which is pretty cool. Because we all know how great the relationship is between AEW and TNT. We've heard Tony Khan say it about as many times as humanly possible. So I believe it's an 8-man tournament, which will be concluding, is it 8 or 16? Might be 16. Either way, the tournament will be concluding at Double or Nothing in May in Vegas. So we'll be receiving a new singles championship, which hopefully means the likes of Hangman Page can finally get that title run. Singles title run. But I think this is going to be really great for AEW.
Yeah, this will definitely address your biggest problem with the show, which is that there hasn't been a secondary singles title. So hopefully this will cause you to quit your bitching a little bit about people like Kenny Omega not having a singles championship.
Yeah, well, and this is perfect. Now Cody can hold the title.
Yeah, well, yeah, and again, obviously we know about Moxley coming out and just offering up a championship opportunity to Cody on a silver platter, which is funny because nothing came from that, but it was nice that he at least put it out there. So long-term booking, got to be smart. Yeah. But I'm excited to see where this goes. Hope give an opportunity to some younger guys that, as Cody says, aren't ready for big platinum, but could come back and, really push them. I think this would be perfect for somebody like Darby Allin. And
that's kind of what I'm thinking. You put a lot of the young guys in this tournament too. You can put, Cody or Kenny or Penta or Phoenix or someone in the tournament, but Darby, Hangman, Sammy, Kip, maybe. A lot of the younger guys get a good go with it. MJF.
Yeah. So, next we're going to talk about why Edge came back to pro wrestling. What got him back in the business? Why, after 9 years, he felt that he could come back. Why he felt like he was healthy enough to come back. And it's actually kind of a goofy story. He said that back in mid-2019-ish, he was filming a handful of Celtic Warrior workout videos with Sheamus for his YouTube channel. And during filming, he crashed his mountain bike, but then noticed that after the crash, his neck felt fine. He says, "It's a pretty gnarly wipeout. I was going probably 20-25 miles per hour. I landed on these stones, rode right up to my feet, but I'm fine. I was all cut up, but my neck was fine." Couple that with doing all these fight scenes over the years on sets, some pretty physical stuff, especially with Vikings, and I thought, okay, I feel really good. And then between consulting his doctor and Dr. James Andrews' teams down in Birmingham, he started to think, I think I'm healthy enough to get back in the ring. He then said that he started training again with Beth Phoenix and the Revival. Says, "I talked to Triple H And I said, I can't go to a ring anywhere because people will start seeing me. I can't go to the PC. So they sent me a ring. He got a warehouse space, and I set up a ring and basically had my own personal field of dreams. I just got in there and got to work. And thankfully, I'm married to another Hall of Famer who can pick up and body slam me, which a lot of you guys can't say for your wives. The Revival, they both live in Asheville, so they'd come and they'd get in there with me and they'd put me through paces. And I was keeping up with them. I wasn't tired. I wasn't sore. And I thought, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen at a level that I wanted. I didn't want to come back and be anything less than what I was. I'm going to have to work differently. I'm going to have different limitations. And I still want to be able to go in there and be able to go at least a half an hour. So that's what brought Edge back to WWE after 9 years, is workout videos with Sheamus. Just what an insane, just combination of circumstances.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, think about that. He doesn't have that mountain bike accident. Maybe he doesn't come back.
Exactly. I mean, something that most people would consider, a negative, immediately turned into one of the biggest positives of his life. That's fantastic. And I just love Triple H's response. Oh, you can't go out and work out in the ring anywhere? That's fine. Give me find a warehouse and I'll send you a ring. You're gonna what now?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a ring. They probably reimbursed him for the warehouse too.
Yeah, seriously though. So, and then I can't get the image of Beth Phoenix picking up and slamming Edge up and down a ring out of my head, because that's just great.
Over and over again.
All right, and next we're going to get into an article about why, and I quote, Vince McMahon wanted to kill Goldberg. Goldberg spoke with Inside the Ropes, referring to his WrestleMania 20 match with Brock Lesnar, and talked about how Vince was not very pleased with either man. Says, here's the thing though, if you're presented with that scenario and you're Vince McMahon, the hell do you do? Who do you let win? Who do you hate less? And of course, he's referring to the fact that fans knew that both Goldberg and Lesnar were leaving the company after the match, and they made sure to make both men aware of their hatred. So he says, I just wonder how he came to that decision. I really do, because he wanted to kill me, and I know he wanted to kill Brock. So I guess he wanted to kill Brock more, and that's why I won. So
yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is Brock's younger. He could be here for longer than Goldberg could. I'm going to be more pissed about that. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know how to book that match. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, no, that's got to be a really awful situation to put Vince McMahon in. And in the end, it all worked out because they got their big WrestleMania match years later when Goldberg came back to the company in the second stage. Good match. I mean, for a match that only went about 5-10 minutes, which is the way it should have gone, by the way. Fantastic. So that's cool. Next, real quick, it's Samoa Joe's WWE suspension is over. So look forward to seeing Mr. Joe. And this next bit of news is actually pretty big. At least in terms of where things have been going with WWE these last couple years. And that's the fact that the WWE Network is no longer going to be available in Saudi Arabia until further notice. So this week, WWE unlocked a vast portion of the WWE Network library for a limited time. However, fans in Saudi Arabia are unable to take advantage of this offering. WWE confirmed that the network is not available in Saudi Arabia until further notice, despite WWE announcing last year that they are expanding their partnership with Saudi General Entertainment Authority through 2027. WWE has been unable to secure a new television deal in the Middle East. During the WWE 2019 earnings call last month, WWE Chief Financial Officer Frank Riddick stated that the deal hasn't been made because of the Saudi Arabian government and their own ways going about and doing business. He says, we don't want to predict a specific date. The uncertainties are around the timing and the amounts, not that these deals will eventually be done. So, little bit interesting there.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a divide. I mean, to be able to get the in-person contract done, the continued workmanship with the Prince whatever stadium in Saudi Arabia that they continue to go to and go earn their blood money.
Yeah.
To not be able to get the blood money television deal done doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can't possibly be asking too much, right? I mean, they're willing to fork over all this money for you to come there. I can't imagine that they're not willing to fork over a bunch of money to go there.
Well, and especially, here's the thing though, especially with everything that reportedly happened from their last trip to Saudi Arabia, all the negatives that came out. So you've got to think there's a little bit of strain on the relationship there after that. And with all the wrestlers reportedly coming out saying they never want to go back to Saudi Arabia again. So that in itself creates issues for WWE. But then now you have this coming out. So I can only imagine where this is going to go. I mean, you heard their deal is supposed to go through 2027.
Right.
But I think we'll all be surprised if it lasts that long. This isn't going to end well for either side, I don't think. Mainly for WWE.
Yeah, I can't see this ending particularly well. In fact, I would love to, this would be perfect, would be for AEW to now go do a show in Israel.
Yikes.
Well, I mean, first of all, Israel is actually a major market for wrestling. It has been for quite a long time. In fact, there's a couple of different ones in the Israel Tel Aviv area that are rather huge.
Absolutely.
But to go over to the Israel-Palestine area and have a show would be awesome. I think, a slap in the face.
But I think it's more the fact that WWE is, it's a private company, but it's also an American company. You don't want to put yourself in the line of fire with anything political at all. That just wouldn't be a smart move, I think, from WWE to go out and do that, especially because you know how petty the Saudi Arabian government is, and you know how petty Vince McMahon is, so it just would not be a good idea.
No, I'm saying for AEW to do it. A perfect slap in the face would be for AEW to now go do a show in Israel and be literally, again, on the entire other side of the argument of WWE. Oh, WWE's booked up with Saudi Arabia through 2027. We're going to do shows in Tel Aviv.
I mean, regardless, I don't like the idea of any wrestling company getting, political and doing. I don't know. I don't like it. It sends a bad message out there.
What did you think Fight for the Fallen was?
Yeah, but that's just standard American propaganda of oh, we love America, because we're America. So that's different than we're going to Saudi Arabia, we're going to Israel, putting out actual political statements. That's way different than just your standard "We Love America" show.
It's putting out a political statement by just going to the country.
Well, if we're going off the logic you used, it's going off a whole different political scale because
implied.
So that's making a political statement in its own right. The action is the statement. So I don't think that's what you want to do.
So WWE going to Saudi Arabia was okay.
I've never said. Hold up. Okay. First of all, I've never said that. You're putting words in my mouth.
I was gonna say.
Second, as someone that has already openly multiple times made fun of WWE for its blood money, come on now, Nick. Come on now.
My thing is, I'm okay with these guys going other places. It's just be smart where you go. Go to wrestling territories. Go to places like Japan and Britain and Australia, New Zealand is starting to become really hot. Israel's a hotbed. Puerto Rico used to be a hotbed for professional wrestling.
But if you're going to use the argument that wrestling in Israel is hot, I mean, WWE could use the same argument that wrestling in Saudi Arabia is hot. There's the reason why.
Yeah, now that you put it, they're asking for people who are dead, Marcus.
Yes, but no, the government is asking for people that are dead. The people are completely different. So that's my point is you can't. I don't think you should be in either one, to be honest. You shouldn't be in Saudi Arabia, and if you're AEW, you shouldn't go to Israel just as a counter to WWE. Like, you should just keep doing what you're doing, but let's just not turn this into a whole.
The same thing about so many different other places. I mean, you could say, don't go wrestle in China. Or don't go wrestle.
I can't say that about China, and I will. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I have very strong opinions on that. I have opinions about the NBA playing in China. So you're talking to the right guy about that. If you're saying that, yes, I do have opinions on that. So.
Or like, I don't know, don't go wrestle in Mexico because you don't support drug cartels.
But that's not to do with the Mexican government. That's like, don't go. That'd be like saying don't go anywhere because there are gangs and terrorist organizations. So that's.
But this is the thing. Saudi Arabia is the only place that you've mentioned, well, other than China, where the government controls the sports entertainment. If they went to Israel, it wouldn't be, oh, we're giving all this money to the government. We're going in, we're doing a show, we're getting paid for it, and the people there get to see it.
But the whole idea would be, first of all, it would turn into a political statement. You know it would. To say that it wouldn't is just flatly ignorant. Like, you know that they would use it in their way. Israel would turn it into some big statement. It'd be all over the news. It'd probably get on CNN. Like, it would be everywhere. So,
the only reason
a professional wrestling company goes to Israel while WWE's having shows with blood money in Saudi Arabia. Like, this is not what wrestling needs right now.
The only reason I would stay away from Israel is because of the way that the Israeli government treats the Palestinians.
Uh-huh.
Which, again, you want to talk politics, we could get into.
Hence why I'm saying let's just stay out of that. Like, it's not what wrestling needs right now.
I don't know. I think unless you're getting paid by the government, it's like if an independent promoter who owns an arena in any country contacts me and is like, yo, I want you to come out. And they're going to pay me good money, and they're going to pay my guys good money, why would I ever say no? Like, if some dude who has no relation to Vlad Putin in Russia is like, yo, I want you to come out and have a wrestling show in Russia. I own the stadium. Nothing to do with the government. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it also depends, though, on how much it depends about... At the end of the day, it's like what it represents, though. It's about the fact that you're still going to a country that superimposes high tense regulations on its own people. And it's about your own morality, where you stand on certain issues. So if you feel like you don't, for instance, again, that's why I don't support them going to Saudi Arabia, is because look about all the hoops they have to dance through to have their women wrestlers compete. Even if it was an independent show, you would still have to have, by law, those regulations. It'd be the same thing in Russia. My God, I mean, pray for any openly gay wrestlers on the WWE roster if they go to Russia. Sonya Deville immediately comes to mind. So that's true. That's why, yes, you could say, yeah, I'll take money from anywhere, but that doesn't make you any better than WWE then with Saudi Arabia.
I didn't think about the laws and customs thing. I was just thinking about the not taking
You're thinking about the money. Hey, you are Vince McMahon.
There's a difference. I won't take blood money. I'll take regular money, not blood money. Well, then in the same sense, we shouldn't be holding anything in Louisiana because they're banned on tombstones, or on pile drivers.
That's a whole...
Louisiana, you don't get anything anymore. Delete!
Well, the whole, my opinions on all these state regulations on pro wrestling is a whole nother conversation.
So
it is.
No pile drivers in my state. But why? Because it hurts people. But we can control them now. It's not 1980. I don't care.
You're dropping people on their head.
No, we're not.
No, we're really not.
So next week on the Weekend Wrap-Up, we'll have a list of safe countries to host shows in.
Next week on the Wrevolution Political Podcast.
You can go to the EU, Japan, and anywhere in NATO.
Yep. And our next topic, Donald Trump. No, I'm kidding.
Now that is wrestling related if you're talking about WrestleMania 23.
You're right. That is fair. And
Only man to beat Vince McMahon in the Battle of the Billionaires.
And he was a face. Fun fact.
In Detroit, he was a face.
And got very, very much cheered. But I don't want to get into anything related to that. So let's move forward here to one of our last articles here. I got two more. This one and one more after that, unless you have anything else following. So we have an article from comicbook.com stating WWE's deal to sell pay-per-view streaming rights is reportedly dead. Kaput. Rest in peace. Vince McMahon made the surprising announcement during an investors conference back in February that WWE was looking to sell its pay-per-view streaming rights to another major over-the-top streaming service. Said, "We also have an option right now. There's no more better time to exercise selling of our rights to all the majors who, quite frankly, all the majors are really clamoring for our content," making reference to OTT and the entrance of the major players. "We'd be announcing that deal if we go that way in the first quarter. That's how far along we are." However, Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Newsletter reported on the latest Wrestling Observer radio show that those talks are now dead, despite WWE recently signing a deal with ESPN to run WrestleMania 30, 32, and 35 on its main channel. Meltzer goes on to further discuss the deal after pointing out how Loop Capital had downgraded WWE stock from hold to sell on the belief that the deal wasn't happening. Their reason was that they believed the deal, Meltzer said, which propped the stock back up a little bit, the deal that they were going to sell their pay-per-view rights, whether Peacock, ESPN, or DAZN, before the end of the quarter. Their belief is that the deal is dead. The word I had was that they were far apart on money, but now that it is dead by any means. Saying that, and enough that it downgrades the stock, and WWE not coming out and disagreeing, that's saying something. So this was something that WWE had really been pushing its chips into the middle of the table on. WWE, this could have made them a lot of money. So you got to think they're hurting bad after this deal. I mean, this is gonna impact their stocks. This is impacting everything, really. I mean, think about any future plans that WWE had maybe started to lay out in regards to the money they could potentially make. Those plans are now just treading water right now.
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually investing in stocks, and I was invested in WWE. I sold right before the second Saudi show because there were the rumors coming out about the possible treatment. And since then, it is down over $60 a share.
Yes. So
WWE, which was at almost $100 a share at one point, is now down to $32 a share.
Yes. Now, WWE, and if you look at the grand scheme of things, from the last quarter, WWE is still doing fine. Like, they're definitely not like, oh no, abandoned ship. I mean, their overall net from their last quarter was positive. So, obviously, we'll have to see where things go looking at this more recent one. But maybe if something drastic happens, they can turn the ship around. Fingers crossed. But as of right now, they're hurting bad from a lot of different directions, whether it's the Saudi deal, this whole pay-per-view streaming thing, what the hell is going to happen with the network. I mean, there's just so many things, and now we've got this coronavirus mess. I mean, everything is just not going well for World Wrestling Entertainment right now.
Yeah, anything that could go wrong is going wrong for the most part, with the Saudi deal falling through on the WWE network, with continued backlash from investors over their continued work with the Saudi Arabian government, and then now with the inability to sell their pay-per-view rights, which personally I thank God, because I'm not paying that much money for a WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I'll pay it for AEW. I'll pay for takeovers. I
mean, I'm gonna be honest. If WWE decided that they were gonna take pay-per-views off the network, and we were gonna have to go back to paying $50-$60 a show, I'd catch the main 4 or 5. I'd watch Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam. like.
And probably either Chamber or Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, probably one of those
maybe
two.
Money in the Bank.
That'd probably be it. And you would have to, if you're WWE, you'd probably have to go to a, like, you couldn't do a pay-per-view a month anymore. You'd have to do, like, which even now, they're not even really doing that now, but you'd have to, like, definitely, like, tone down your calendar and go back to, like, a smaller list of pay-per-views.
I would say, actually, and 8 would be perfect because then you could do 4 takeovers, and you could do 2 takeovers not on major show weeks. So you could do a takeover during WrestleMania week, and then a takeover during like SummerSlam week to do it on offset, or even actually the perfect offset would be Survivor Series week, even though that wouldn't make sense.
Well, especially with they did it. I was gonna say, if they're continuing to have NXT compete in Survivor Series, you might not want to do that. But then they did it last year. They had TakeOver and Survivor Series. So
do like a TakeOver that shadows Mania, a TakeOver that shadows one of the other 3 major pay-per-views, and then have 2 TakeOvers be a pay-per-view for a month.
Yeah.
And then you have 10 total months with pay-per-views. You have 2 months off and 2 pay-per-views, or 2 months that you have 2 pay-per-views because of NXT and the main roster.
I would, you know what would work with that too is that, and that's if WWE went to this model. Because if they did this, I'd be willing to pay for it. And that's the fact that by not having a pay-per-view as frequent, you would more than likely up the quality of each show, because now you're not having to crank out new storylines, new feuds every month because you're trying to force a new pay-per-view out every like so quickly.
Well, and now I don't know if this is something that they could do, but the perfect thing would be a pay-per-view package for when you do a major pay-per-view and you have a takeover before it. Instead of charging $60 for one and $60 for the other, and it's $120, let us save $20 or something. $100 for the weekend.
I would assume TakeOver would still air on the network, if anything. I mean, that's just my assumption, but I mean, right now NXT, even though it's airing on USA, you can still catch fully up to date too. By the way, like the full length episodes of NXT each week on the network. So I would assume they would keep airing takeovers on the network because WWE doesn't view NXT as that high commodity, which I don't know why, but they obviously don't. So I don't know. I mean, fingers crossed, right? I mean, I guess there'd be a first for everything, so you never know. But one can only hope. And my biggest hope is that they don't go to this model and we just keep the network. But I guess it would be better for the wrestlers because they'd get that sweet, sweet pay-per-view revenue.
Would they or would Vince?
Well, that was always the biggest complaint from wrestlers in WWE when they switched to the network model, was that they're losing all that pay-per-view money. Because back in the day when you had a pay-per-view, like an actual pay-per-view per, like for the shows, wrestlers were getting that pay-per-view bonus in their checks.
Right.
But now it's just, you get WrestleMania and you maybe get SummerSlam as the big show. I guess you could include whatever the Saudi Arabia show is, because that's the second WrestleMania, if you want to call it that. So that's what people have to look forward to in terms of their, like, holiday bonus, if you want to call it that. But now, but back in the day, it was just every time there was a pay-per-view, if you were on the show, like, you're getting that sweet pay-per-view money, and you're not getting that anymore because of the way the network works.
Yeah, I mean, that is a hope, but of course, I mean, now we have investors to please, so, you know, maybe now we being WWE, not ourselves, we don't have investors. We could have investors. Do you want to invest in us? Please invest in us. WWE has investors to please now. When they went to the network, that's when they opened up as a public company, if I recall correctly.
That happened way earlier.
Did it? I'm not paying attention.
I mean,
before we go into our final news story, I do have to present you with a gift. It's not the only one.
Hey, look at that.
I got you covered, brother. It's a Mark-sized one, not a Nick-sized one.
Well, that's important. You are a tiny human.
Yes. I don't know that I'm a tiny human, but you are giganto-human, so you're tall, you're muscular, the works. So, our final news story is still not confirmed.
Well, are you going into the last one, or I had one more?
Yeah, you have another one still? Jeez.
I told you I had two more. So, we have, sorry, I was actually looking for news articles for us to discuss this week. So, the last one I have is that Vince McMahon apparently has given new instructions to its referees. Current WWE official Charles Robinson recently spoke with on-air personality, or former on-air personality, Sean Mooney on his podcast Prime Time. During the interview, Robinson reviewed new instructions that Vince McMahon had given to all referees. According to him, Vince has said that if wrestlers aren't paying attention to the 10 count outside the ring, then they are to count them out, even if that was not the planned finish. Robinson noted that one of the things that they often have to do is hold up on counts after 8 because they realize the competitors won't make it back in the ring by 10. Now, Wrestling Inc. states that this rule might have been in place since the summer, since this appeared to occur on Shorty G's debut on 205 Live against Gentleman Jack Gallagher. And this is an interesting rule that I wouldn't have expected from Vince. But nevertheless, this is what the referees have been instructed. So, what's your opinions on that? Even if it's not the planned finish, referees are going to count you out regardless. Now,
well, I mean, this rule has been in place for other portions of wrestling. If the finish was not supposed to take place and you don't kick out for the 3 count or something like that, if you, for some reason, tapped out of the hold, that wasn't the finish. I mean, referees are told to call a match the way you would be professionally asked to call a match. So whatever they see, they need to call. So I guess, while we've always known that the 10 count is very not a 10 count, I think it's important because it adds a little bit of legitimacy to WWE. And while I don't know that I would go that far and say that you do it in every case, because you see in AEW that they do, for championship matches, 10 counts are slow as can be. The DQ rules are all very sloppy, but that's to protect the integrity of a match. Whereas, I don't want to see a championship match get called on a 10 count because the wrestlers are out pulling out spots on the outside of the ring.
And well, if what Wrestling Inc. reported is true, that this rule has been out since the summer, then WWE hasn't even been following their own rule, because did you notice any 10 counts being fully followed through this past year? No, the refs have not been following through, and especially, I'd like to see a referee count out Brock Lesnar in one of his championship matches. Come on now.
Yeah.
So this is probably just one of those things where Vince McMahon was like, wow, you should be paying attention, damn it. It's one of those things where he's like, he doesn't understand. He's like, yep, just make it a rule. But Vince, how is that going to work? Make it a rule. And then no one follows through with it, because if they did, why'd you end the match? Well, Vince, you said to follow through. I don't know. So, it's just one of those things where you just nod your head and say, yes, Vince, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And you act like it never happened. So that's probably where we are with that story. But I did feel that it was important to bring it to you, your guys' attention, because it's a deep dive into the crazy, insane mind of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon that, my God, when this man passes away, the deep dive, all the biopics, the brain. I want them to get his brain on ice and just scientists, just something, because I need to know what goes through this man's head.
Now on to the last news story,
if you insist.
Which, of course, is not confirmed yet by WWE, but Roman Reigns will be missing WrestleMania 36 due to the outbreak of COVID-19. Roman, of course, who battled leukemia, is immunocompromised based on the treatment that he was required to go through to beat leukemia. So he is in, obviously he's in remission from leukemia. He has beaten it, or as much as you do beat cancer. But he is immunocompromised from it, and he has decided he does not feel comfortable working a show during the COVID-19 outbreak and would like to stay home and self-quarantine. This especially came out after Rey Mysterio and Dana Brooke both tested positive for COVID-19.
Well, someone else who's also expressing concerns about the whole coronavirus mess is Dan O'Brien, who obviously he's also had multiple immune system deficiencies with all of his head trauma and everything, the multiple surgery, stuff like that. He is at risk. So there's been talk and discussions about him potentially pulling out of his match at Mania. So this whole thing is just turning into one big shit show, for lack of better words. And it's like I've been saying since day one, WWE just needs to pull the plug on the whole thing. If it was up to me, I'd have been canceled Mania and just been like, all right, postpone it, do it another time. I get the whole the show must go on mantra, but come on, guys. Like, it's a mess. It really is. I mean, you got wrestlers pulling out every other day now. I mean, people speaking out about it. It's just not going to be a great show. I mean, fingers crossed I get proven wrong and WWE actually puts out like an amazing show. But the likelihood of that is the likelihood of SmackDown, me coming on and, first of all, doing a SmackDown review, but then coming out and saying, guys, SmackDown's back. And that's just not going to happen. So, at least not anytime soon.
We have for you our WrestleMania 36 picks. And so the full card has not officially been released.
Well, not to mention, a lot of these things have been changed in recent days, too.
Right. I have the card that I sent to you, which is the most recently updated card in the Snapchat group.
Yes.
So I have the most recently updated card. If anything changes, we will change our picks on the fly on WrestleMania Sunday, and we are going to start bottom up.
So, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler.
The custody of Mandy Rose match?
Yeah, pretty much.
I gotta take Otis in this. I gotta take the big guy.
Yeah. I feel like this is gonna be an Otis victory. I hope it's an Otis victory. So,
oh God, don't we all?
Going with my gut here.
All of our guts. Bobby Lashley versus Aleister Black, because reasons.
Because reasons. I think this is gonna be a Bobby Lashley victory. I think with everything that's happened these recent months, they've been trying to build Lashley back up as a dominant heel. And I don't see, even though Lashley doesn't get pushed as hard as a lot of other big heels, he's still a big sweaty man. And I feel like in regards to Vince liking him more than Aleister Black, I would have to go with Bobby going over Aleister at Mania.
I'm going to take Aleister. I don't know. He seems to be growing more and more every week. He continues to show up in and win most of his big matches. I mean, this doesn't do anything for either of them, really.
No.
I mean, even if Bobby wins, like, what is that?
Well, that's why I think that, like, it really doesn't matter, but I feel like if Aleister loses this match, I mean, it doesn't hurt him. I mean, this is the equivalent of a Monday Night Raw match, so it's like, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I'm going to take Aleister Black on this.
Next, we have Elias versus King Baron Corbin. Who do you have and why?
Elias? Because babyface?
Yeah. I'd probably have to go with Elias. I feel like King Corbin's the type of character where he doesn't need wins to sustain his believability as a heel. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Elias here.
The next matchup gonna be Kevin Owens versus the Monday Night Messiah.
Your Lord and Savior.
Yes.
Seth Rollins.
CrossFit Jesus.
Your God.
Who do you have and why?
Dear God,
Or
Kevin
maybe
Owens.
not a Y.
Kevin Owens, please. Please.
I'm gonna take the Monday Night Messiah here. Seth Rollins is gonna pick up the W. It's not that he has to. Please, for the love of God, build something for more than 3 months, please.
But
please,
this has been
don't have the attention span of a 12-year-old. Build something.
But Seth Rollins losing this match doesn't equate to the storyline being over. I mean, but how many more wins can the man get over Kevin Owens?
Them.
You are
move on from Kevin Owens
and
else.
It's that mindset, which is why John Cena got pushed for a decade, because can't ever lose.
Speaking of, next matchup, Jonathan Johnny Boy Cena versus Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, in a Firefly Funhouse match.
As much as I want Bray to win this match, I don't feel like he has a chance in hell of beating Johnny Boy at Mania. I really don't. My heart wants to go with Bray Wyatt, but he just doesn't have...
They're gonna do it again?
They're gonna do it. I really do. I think they're gonna do it again. But at the same time, I picked Kevin Owens in the last match, so I'm gonna pick Bray Wyatt in this one, only because, please.
All right.
I'm going with my heart, not my brain. I'm going with my heart, not my brain.
If we get the reported Universal title match that we're supposed to get, then I'm okay with, I want Bray to win, I pick Bray. If the other thing that's rumored to be happening, which is the winner of this match will face Goldberg, I want Cena.
Why?
And I know that's not right, but 17-time champion.
Oh my God, get out of here.
At Mania over Goldberg. But I'll be taking Bray Wyatt.
All right, next we get The Undertaker versus the phenomenal AJ Styles. And that is going to be who wins this match. It's going to be AJ. He's going to put the dead man down.
Yeah, okay, that's cute. I'm taking Taker because WrestleMania, and I would have only been wrong twice in my entire life making that pick.
And the last 2 times. Yep.
Hey, now he beat John Cena.
Yeah, he beat John Cena.
And beat Bray Wyatt in there somewhere. No, I think The Undertaker. I think he's back. I not like he's gonna come on and do a 6-month tour with the gang on Monday Night Raw, but I think, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think they would reinvent Taker just to put him down. I feel like if they were going to put him down, they would have just let him do the Phenom gimmick and let him go out on it.
But it's not about
like
putting him...
It
ain't about putting him down, though. I mean, I think it's about the fact that Taker's in a point in his career where he should be putting guys over, not beating them at the grandest stage of them all. You shouldn't be getting wins over the best wrestler in the world. Come on now.
He's not facing Kenny Omega.
No, he's facing the phenomenal AJ Styles.
So next we get a last man standing match between Edge and Randall Keith Orton.
This is tough because of WWE's massive hard-on for putting over Orton. But I'm going to go with the rated R superstar in this one.
Yes, I will be joining you in that pick. I'll be going with Edge. The next matchup, WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. I forgot those were a thing. Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Oh, dang.
I'm going to go with...
versus Asuka and Kairi saying the Kabuki Warriors.
Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
How long can you hold the titles at this point? Like, it's got to be Nikki Cross and Alexa, right?
And the important thing is they need to take the title off Asuka so she can go do single
things, yes. But you've already proven that you're not going to do anything single with Alexa and Nikki Cross at this point.
Right. So
WWE refuses
titles on Alexa and Nikki Cross.
Yeah, WWE refuses to push Alexa as a single star anymore for some reason. Even she doesn't know why, so...
She was one of the most over-heel characters, and then became a face, and was super over as a face. Like, she can do no wrong. She's gotten significantly better in the ring from when she got here, and you put the title on her.
Is her last name Flair?
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
So I think actually the most important thing is, as stupid as this sounds, I think Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, that's going to be a fight that's going to be a transitional championship. I see them putting the titles on the Iconics when they come back. I do. I just do.
Again?
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
No, I don't see that at all. I think Alexa... First of all, you're anticipating that they care enough about the titles to have another women's tag team championship match in the near future. So...
Next one's going to be SummerSlam.
So, I mean, if you want to put your eggs in that basket, you go right on ahead, bud.
Fair.
Next...
It's a 4-month reign.
So, next, this is for the ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and it is one of the Uso brothers versus John Morrison.
It is a singles match for the Tag Team Championships.
Yep. You want to explain why it's a singles match, my guy?
COVID-19?
Yeah. So instead of just canceling the match outright, they're like, nope, you two are just going to go one-on-one for the tag team titles, play it, holla holla. So
I would, as much as I love Miz and Morrison, and this obviously means they're retaining, I would have just stripped the belts from them. Like, oh, you're refusing to compete in a match? No title for you. But yeah, John Morrison.
Yeah, it's going to be John Morrison.
Like, having this match just shows, well, maybe not. Maybe canceling the match would be too obvious of a call that that they wanted to keep the titles on them. I don't know. So we have an intercontinental title match between D-Bry and Sami Zayn. Now, D-Bry reportedly is still in for WrestleMania, but he is going to go into self-quarantine afterwards. So, Sami?
Yeah, if we go off that news, then Samuel Zayn.
Match of the Year candidate next. Raw Tag Team title match. It's Angel Garza and Austin Theory, accompanied to the ring by Zelina Vega versus the Street Profits.
So
obviously, I have Theory and Garza,
Yeah. I mean, if you don't pick Angel Garza and Austin Theory in this match, then obviously you just haven't been watching wrestling these last couple months, because they are the hottest up and coming tag team in professional wrestling.
They are the hottest tag team in pro wrestling to have never wrestled a match together.
Yep. So no, obviously we're going team want the smoke. It's going to be the Street Profits. Next, we have a Fatal 5-Way elimination match for the SmackDown Women's title. And it is Lacey Evans versus the Boss, Sasha Banks, versus Feel the Glow, Naomi, versus Tamina, versus Bayley. I have no information on what to go off of for this match because I haven't been watching SmackDown. But if I had to guess, I mean, let's just go by process of elimination here. Let's start with the most obvious answer. It's not going to be Tamina. It's not going to be Lacey Evans. Clear. We've got the.
You know what? It might be Lacey Evans.
Oh God.
They've got this thing for her. If they're going to put her over, why not do it at Mania?
That's fair. This is the inner booker in me.
Sasha versus Bayley at the end. Yes.
I think this is when you get the Sasha Banks turn, if you want to call it that, and it'll be Sasha going over Bayley.
My heart says Sasha, but my brain says Bayley. because of all the things that Sasha's been posting on social media that are pro AEW. And Vince probably going, remember how I was going to give you that title? Nope.
Well, that could also lead to Naomi picking up the victory in this match too, because they're not afraid to put the title on her. So,
okay, so you're taking Sasha, right? So I can record that on my little phone here.
Yeah, Sasha's gonna be the pick.
I've talked myself into it. I'm taking Lacey Evans.
All right.
I didn't pick Tamina. The Raw Women's title match, which is significantly less confusing to call the winner on, is going to be excuse me.
It's going to be Charlotte Flair somehow.
Why not? She's in every championship.
Why not?
Shayna Baszler versus the man, Becky Lynch.
So, this was the easiest match to pick until a few weeks ago.
Because you're gonna the truck, I'm a
No, I'm not picking up the truck. No,
get rid of the semi-truck.
I mean, to be fair, Nick, come on. They bought a semi-truck. Come on. They're obviously putting her over. No. Stay with me here. On the insane roller coaster ride that is WWE logic when it comes to booking matches here. Up until a few weeks ago, it was the most obvious pick in the world, right? It was Shayna Baszler going over. Oh, Becky's getting stale. Like, Shayna came in like a bat out of hell. Like, she's so on fire. It's going to be Shayna. And then a funny thing happened. They remembered how to book Becky Lynch properly. And all of a sudden, her segment started getting better. And people actually started caring about Becky again. And then also another thought popped in my mind too. And that's the fact that Vince McMahon reportedly loves him some Becky Lynch more recently than he has in the past. And he's also gone a little cold on Shayna Baszler and the fact that he doesn't like the gimmick. He doesn't really get it. So if you go off of...
It's not a gimmick, she's badass.
So if you go off of that, one would then lead you to believe that Becky actually has a better chance in this match than previously expected because of the way Vince and WWE Creative may be souring on Shayna Baszler and may be getting more behind Becky Lynch. So this isn't as cut and dry as previously thought. I'm still going Shayna, but
wow, that's great. That was like watching one of those 3-hour pay-per-view specials that they do just for shits and giggles, like, what was it, Roadblock, where nothing changes at all, but they sell us this 3-hour short. That's what that was.
Yep. Well, I'm just throwing the idea out there that it's not, again...
We're probably wrong.
I mean,
Because I'll be taking Shayna Baszler as well.
Yeah, we could be wrong on this one, but one that we're almost guaranteed to be wrong on, and that's the WWE NXT Women's Title match: Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
Please be Rhea, please, for the love of all that is holy, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, let it be Rhea Ripley.
So, I'm going to let you go first on this.
I've learned 2 things in life. You don't bet against the Pats. You don't bet against Charlotte Flair. 3 things. You don't bet against Bama unless they're playing Clemson.
No, unless they're playing Joe Burrow.
Rhea Ripley.
So, this is gonna be
Rhea Ripley.
This is gonna be one of those things where we get to the show, and as the show starts winding down, I look at you, through the camera, and I go, "This is what's gonna lose me this pay-per-view," and it's gonna be the fact that I'm going with Charlotte Flair because I can believe purely in my heart of hearts that Vince McMahon is going to look Triple H dead in the eye and say, she's losing, Hunter. And Hunter's going to cry, and he's going to complain, and you never let me have any fun, Vince. And then Vince is going to say, Hunter, Paul, listen to me. That woman right there, Rhea Ripley, what's her last name? It's Ripley. What's her last name? It's Flair. How tall is she? Well, she's, I think, like 6'1" or something. What? She's winning! So, by that notion, I'm going to have to go with Charlotte Flair because you, as you said, you don't bet against Charlotte. And you don't bet against Charlotte at Mania. She already lost last year at Mania. I don't think they're doing it again.
Oh, we can't do it 2 years in a row. I will lose my mind if they put the belt on Charlotte.
I won't even be mad if I get that wrong. That's one of those where I go like, and I've made a couple of those on this list too, where I'm like, I won't even be mad if I get them wrong because it would be the right booking decision. But my God, like, please don't put the title on Charlotte. Although
Vince Russo's booking, Vince McMahon, well, she's a Flair.
Here's the thing, though. I also got this idea in my head, too, that I could see Vince McMahon going, what would be the best way to promote NXT? Putting the NXT title on someone as accomplished as Charlotte Flair and letting her parade the belt around as a legitimate women's champion. Tell me that's not... I mean, I don't want it, but tell me that's not WWE logic. And it's by that, if you use that logic, it's not terrible. Like, you wouldn't be wrong in that sense if you're using Charlotte Flair as a way to build the brand. Like, if you were to put the title on Charlotte and you say, okay, Charlotte's going to be our champion and she's going to be a defending champion. She's going to be this, like, hyping up in the NXT belt, going on Raw saying, oh, that's cool that you're the Raw Women's Champion, but I'm the NXT Women's Champion. Like, if she does something like that, which you know she would because she's Charlotte and she's an egomaniac, then, yeah, that, in a sense, would help build up the women's brand on NXT. So, I definitely see WWE going that route. Again, I don't want it, but if you did that, at least I wouldn't cry myself to sleep at night knowing that Rhea Ripley lost the belt to Charlotte.
Okay, Rhea. Anyways, we'll move on now to the reported WWE Universal Championship match, which is still subject to change. Obviously, nothing's set in stone with the possibility that Roman Reigns is out. So what I would like to do is actually go ahead and pick the Roman match because, it's not official that he's out yet.
And see, this is what I was going to say too. If it's Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, then I'm going with Roman. But I would assume, I mean, what's your pick on that? If it's Roman versus Goldberg.
Yeah, if it's Roman versus Goldberg, Roman takes the dub.
If it's Goldberg versus anybody else, I can't see them putting anyone else over Goldberg. I would assume they'd want to hold the belt on Goldberg until you can get Vince's wet dream match. So,
so the reported match for the Universal title is Braun Strowman versus Goldberg, and you're taking Goldberg. I'm going to take Braun Strowman.
Mr. I can't win big matches to save my life.
I know. I think it's time. And Vince can still get his big, sweaty, wet dream match and do a rematch. And then Roman goes, well, I never got my chance. And they'll do a triple threat. And it'll be even more big, sweaty, wet dream match because now Braun too. So I'm taking Braun Strowman.
All
please,
right.
Braun. Please take it off Goldberg. And then we get the match that we are all going to be waiting for, the WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar.
So this is one of those matches where you can't listen to hearsay or reported news articles or anything because what's being reported about this match has changed so many times in recent weeks that you don't know who the F is winning based on reports. I mean, my God, I've heard so many things about Vince souring on Drew McIntyre, from him wanting to keep the title on Brock Lesnar so he can have a feud with John Cena or something, to them wanting Drew McIntyre to be the man that finally did. Like, I've heard so many things that this is one where you just have to go with your gut. And my gut is that Drew McIntyre is winning this match. He has to win this match, right?
Yeah, I'm taking Drew McIntyre on this one as well. I mean, this one seemed like an easy pick for me, to be honest with you. As much as, you know, seeing Cena Lesnar again would be, you know, fun and rip Cena's neck.
Watching Cena get tossed around like a rag doll around the ring for 10 minutes.
No, I'm gonna have to take McIntyre on this one. This is gonna be a new era for WWE. Well, new era, same old shit, to quote some of our favorites on the YouTubes. But I could see them with two brand new champions. I mean, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, both gigantic men who are up and coming, who have worked their asses off to get to where they're at.
Yes.
That would be the perfect story. I mean, that would be almost as beautiful as when Eddie and Benoit won them on the same night, WrestleMania 20.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
19 or 20, I don't remember. 20, I believe. I believe that's because it was a rounded year. So, I mean, it would be just as beautiful as that to see two guys who, you know, in that case were smaller guys who were not Vince's type of guy, who worked as hard as they possibly could. Both of them came up through the WCW system to both walk out as champions, both work rate guys. Now, you know, 16 years later to have Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre both walk out as champions after working their asses off, it would be the perfect story.
Your comparison to me is laughable because you're comparing someone like Braun Strowman, who from day one was handpicked by Vince himself to be the guy in the company. And the only reason he hasn't gotten that next step is because he's gone up against the likes of Roman Reigns and Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. I mean, my God, this is a person that for like a 6-month span, they strapped a rocket ship on and had him in a major storyline feud with Roman, where every week this dude came on and picked a different way to either die or kill Roman Reigns. So let's not compare Braun Strowman to like someone like Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio. Like, come on.
Or even Chris.
Or
Benoit.
Chris Benoit.
But look at where he's come from. The new face of death, was it? The black sheep of the Wyatt family? To random ponytail showing up on Raw, drafted without anybody else, no idea what his moveset is. Apparently his finisher is a running power slam, to getting the running power slam over, to getting over screaming your name. Like, this dude has worked his ass off.
I get it, but it's hard to not...
Okay,
like,
look,
when...
you're right. He's not Eddie, he's not Chris, he's not Ray, he's not Jericho, he's not any of those guys.
I'm not even saying like in terms of work rate he's not them. I'm saying in terms of the underdog. I just want to believe in Braun. It's hard to fight for someone who from day one the company said, you will cheer this man. That is, I can't like...
Like, the reason he's not... When has he won? He's won 2 championships. One of them he then lost to Sami Zayn, and the other one was a tag team title with a 12-year-old.
But you forget, that's how hard they were pushing them, that he had him 1v2 at Mania. That's how hard he was getting pushed, Nick. By that logic alone.
Yes,
they had this man.
They had him lose for the title like 3 times.
But look at they had him lose to Sammy. He lost because he like 1v5'd. Like, what was he supposed to do? That's my point. It's not like he's just going out and Sammy's beating him legit. Like, it was like a 1v5 scenario in that match.
Every single time that he has not been given the world championship, it's been because either Vince soured on him for some reason, or because Vince went, well, it's on Brock.
Also, not to mention, I mean, have you been seeing what Braun Strowman's been tweeting out lately, and the reaction from the pro wrestling community to Mr. Strowman lately? I don't know if he's the person I'd say is a crowd favorite going into Mania right now. I mean, Mister, you need to lift yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't think it's the guy people want to get behind at Mania. So, I think...
It's been so long.
It's definitely a long time coming, and it definitely, anything would be better. I don't want to know. I'm not going to say anything. I will not say anything. But that would be... That would be better than Goldberg being champion, at least. So,
you know what? Why didn't we get Goldberg versus Gilbert?
Might as well bring back James Ellsworth at this point.
Ellsworth versus Gilbert.
That already happened.
Well, I know, but like a real match. Come on now.
Well, Gilbert's retired. We can't.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way, to Gilbert on his retirement.
Yeah. But
so we have now picked the Mania.
Yeah, so that, of course, the WrestleMania picks, and that is for the Wrevolution Pro Wrestling Championship, the esteemed belt. I'm not going to bring it out this time. I mean, you all know what it looks like. It'll be staying home with your boy after Mania, hopefully. So
because I'm in quarantine.
You can always come pick it up. But
I will when I drop off your shirt.
Hey,
after I beat you this weekend.
Hey, you can come grab the microphone too, so you don't sound like shit every episode.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Look, this week I've managed to put my laptop on top of a hamper.
Yeah, so we're not like doing all this every couple seconds.
I have a functioning desk. It's kind of.
So yes, with that being said, that is going to wrap up this episode of the weekend wrap up. Now we are going to be doing something a little bit different this week in terms of the fact that we're not actually going to be doing a game or any type of booking for the Wrestling Classic this episode. I spoke with Nick prior to this episode, and we're actually going to be doing that as its own separate video going forward. That'll come out later on this week at some time, but I figured with this whole COVID-19 mess happening that it was a good time to perhaps give you guys a little bit more extra content and not make you sit through an hour and a half, 2 hours plus, to just get something a little bit more unique and more entertaining. So that's going to come out as its own separate video, and we'll see how you guys like that. It's going to be a shorter format. It's going to be a shorter video. So instead of just a long podcast format, it'll just be your standard YouTube video. So we'll see what you guys think about that. I'm looking forward to getting your feedback for that.
Additionally, I do have a shout out that I have to give. I promised you I'd give it, and I promised the guys at Foam Hammer Games that I would give this shout out. Anyone who's looking for a great board game and is into professional wrestling, please don't die.
Coronavirus!
Anybody who's into professional wrestling is looking for a great board game to play. The board game Book It is out. It's been considered one of the board games recently to come out through the Kickstarter era that has the most replayability. I had a couple of issues with my order a couple of years ago. They've taken care of me. Their customer service department is fantastic. The game is in the mail. I'm waiting on it, and that's something that you guys may be seeing on one of our game episodes, is a chance of us to sit down and play it, more likely than not when Griffin gets home and when we have more people to get involved. But just a shout out to the guys over at Foam Hammer Games, the guys over at Book It for the awesome work that you guys do. Can't wait to get the game.
Yes. So shout out to you guys. And speaking of shout outs, let's go ahead and do our usual shout out, because even though we're not using them currently right now, Podbean, seriously, we love you guys that are normally listen to the audio format of our podcast. Still working on that, but suffer with us, guys. This is, again, probably going to be the solution until things get back to normal. But while you can't...
You and I are doing the best that we can to provide content for the people. It's not the easiest thing to isolate audio. No. So,
but while you can't currently listen to the Wrevolution podcast on these sites, if you go ahead and follow us on them and prepare for our long-awaited return, then you'll be ready to go. And those sites are, of course, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Podcast, and Podbean. As always, of course, you can...
anywhere you find your great pro wrestling podcast like this one that is definitely super professional and definitely has more than 30 people that watch it.
As always, the Wrevolution Pro Wrestling Podcast is found weekly on the YouTubes, as well as you can find our social media links are down in the description below. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that fine stuff. Next video we'll be coming at you guys with will be the Wednesday Night Wars. The go-home show for NXT, or at least it would be if TakeOver was actually happening. And also...
Well, because two great matches next week from TakeOver will be on NXT.
Yeah. Also, the show that would have been Blood and Guts, but now will just be a regular AEW show. So we'll just see what happens with that. What do you mean, no?
Blood and Guts was supposed to be last week. March
sure?
25th was supposed to be Blood and Guts. Yes.
Wait, but this was supposed to be when they pushed it back to, and then they decided they just weren't gonna do it.
I thought they had just pushed it back indefinitely. I don't know. I could be wrong. Actually, speaking of AEW, and then I do have one thing that I want to address to the fans before we wrap things up totally. Matt Hardy revealed that he can't teleport. Isn't that shocking? Matt Hardy cannot teleport. Matt Hardy said that what happened, what you saw, was an illusion that was portrayed by Vanguard 1 and his army of aerial assassin drones. They were projecting the illusion to make Chris Jericho go insane. I mean, it worked, I guess.
You know, I would have just rather believed that he was teleporting with that terrible, terrible editing and just left it at that than some, like, convoluted explanation. So, way to just go above and beyond.
It's the broken gimmick. You're gonna get convoluted explanations for everything.
Yeah.
So the one thing I do want to address to you guys is during this time, there's a lot going on for everybody, and that is apparent. But we are all right now looking for something to hold our attention, to keep us entertained, and to keep us tuned into the world around us, and perhaps, maybe, tuned out of some of the more difficult parts of the world. So what I am going to ask you all to do is to share this video, this channel, with your family, with your friends, anybody that you know that likes pro wrestling, anybody that you know just likes to laugh a little, because this is a time when we are looking to get more people involved. Right now there are tons of people, our first responders not included in that, and to them I wish the best of luck, my thoughts and prayers with them. But to those of you who are quarantined at home, those of you who are required to stay at home due to a stay-at-home policy or a stay-inside policy, anything along those lines, please tune in, listen, interact. If you have any questions, we're always available. And of course, share this with your family, with your friends. Share this with anybody that you know that loves pro wrestling, because this might just be the right thing to get them to sit down for a couple of hours, relax, and take their mind off the world.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, anything else? Can I end the show now?
My name is Fight Mode Nick from The Spare Bedroom.
My name is Marcus White, live from Studio 6. And And this has been the Wrevolution Pro Wrestling Podcast.
We invite you to join
the Revolution.
Have a good night, guys.